15-year-old Kara Robinson is waking up, slowly opening her eyes to see the nightmare she's in is not a terrible dream. It's her terrifying reality. Kara's tied to her abductor's bed, and he's lying right next to her.
I woke up before the sun even, and I heard him still sleeping. And I sort of knew when he was sleeping was going to be the most feasible time.
The most feasible time to make a run for it. But in order to leave without waking the sleeping monster, Kara can't make a sound or much movement.
How did you break free of your restraints?
My hands were kind of up here. And so the first thing that I did is I tried to kind of reach my hand to unscrew that C-clasp, and I couldn't quite do it. So there was just enough room that I could kind of get it to my mouth, and I used my teeth to unscrew it. I still had my hands in handcuffs. And then I was able to kind of slowly wiggle down to my ankle enough to unattach that from the bed. And then I just kind of slid out of bed and without waking him up.
She's out of bed.
Got my clothes back on, and I went into the living room, went to the door, and at the front door, right beside the door, there was like a coat closet, and it had one of those accordion style doors on it, and it was metal, and so, you know, that's like a noisy door. And there was stuff kind of like the vacuum cleaner, and the Rubbermaid container was also right there in like the little foyer area. And so I moved the container, I pushed the vacuum in and unlocked the door, and I knew that that door was going to make noise whenever I closed that accordion door. So basically in one motion, I closed the door and opened the other one, and his bedroom window looked out onto the front door basically. So I just knew he was gonna wake up when he heard that, and I knew he was gonna be able to see me. So I just did it as fast as I could, and I ran.
In her bare feet, Kara runs for her life.
I just thought for some reason he was going to wake up and he was gonna shoot me through the window, but I was out.
Kara is running, scanning the parking lot for anyone who can help. Then she spots a car.
I ran out in front of the car and waved my arms and stopped them, and went to the driver and said I was just kidnapped. I just came from that apartment, and I turned and pointed to it. It was the guy in that apartment right there, so remember it. You know, they were of course like shocked. You know, a young girl with handcuffs dangling, you know, just ran out in front of their car.
Oh my gosh. Was it a man or
yes,
a woman?
Yes, it was two men, like a middle-aged gentleman and like a younger guy.
Wow. And so what did you tell him?
I said, take me to the police department, and they did.
The men drive her to the Richland County Sheriff's substation, but the reaction she gets is not the one she expected.
What happened when you arrived at the station?
The deputy that was there, I felt he did not believe anything that I was saying. I was like, I still have handcuffs like on one of my wrists.
Oh my gosh.
And I just felt like he just didn't believe me.
And at the time, I bet that probably made you a little bit mad.
It was definitely pretty infuriating, because I was like, here I am, like I've actually done what I set out to do, like I escaped, and now I'm in an area that should be a safe zone, and now I'm, you know, being treated like I'm lying about this.
I mean, I remember when I was rescued. It did take me a little bit to admit who I was, because I had been so abused. And then as soon as I did admit who I was, I remember I was then handcuffed, put in the back of the car, at which point I was like, what have I done?
Oh, I couldn't imagine.
The deputy calls Kara's mother. Her missing daughter has been found.
What was that like, seeing her after like those terrifying hours?
You know, the most emotional part was whenever they called her. They said, we have your daughter, and I could hear her over the phone. I could hear her say, Kara, you have Kara? And that was one of the most emotional moments for me.
Before deputies take Kara to the hospital, they take her back to where her 18-hour horror had taken place.
The investigator said, we're gonna put you in the car real quick, and we're gonna head over to the apartments, and we're gonna see if we can find this guy. And I said, you know, the guys that brought me in, I showed them what apartment, and of course they were in shock. So we went back to the apartment complex. We were trying to identify it, and I was like, I'm not gonna remember, because I had crammed so much information in my brain at this point.
Remember, Kara had memorized all she could about her kidnapper. The magnets on his refrigerator, the names of his doctors, the serial number from inside that container. And she remembered something else, something she saw in the apartment. Would it be the one clue to finding her captor?
I knew that there was a woman living there. I knew that she had red hair, because I saw the long red hair and the hairbrush. So whenever we were able to go back to the apartment complex and I wasn't able to point out the specific apartment, there was, like a property manager riding around on a golf cart. And so the investigator stopped him and said, "This is the information that we have. Do you know what apartment it is?" And the apartment manager was like, "Yep, I know exactly what apartment that is."
Coming up, a discovery that changes everything.
We don't have too many serial killer, serial rapists that come onto our radar.
Is he more than a kidnapper? Is he a killer?
We began to gather information about where he worked. We got some cellular telephone records, different cars he had access to.